So if you're looking for homes in the Palm Beach and South Florida area and you want a place that's really rural, in other words, not a city place, but a place where you can get some property, we get that a lot. So we are going to talk this week about the pros and cons of living in Loxahatchee, Florida. My name is Ray Fernandez. I'm with Living in Palm Beach, Florida, powered by eXp Realty. Welcome. If this is your first time to our channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button there in the corner. While you're at it, ring that bell. What that'll do is that'll notify you each time we put out a new video. We put out new videos every single week. We talk about all things going on around South Florida, so if you're wondering what it's like to eat, sleep, and drink here in South Florida, this is a channel for you. 16 years ago, my family and I relocated to here in South Florida, and we haven't looked back. Today, we truly find it an honor to help people, perhaps like you, do exactly the same thing. So if you're thinking about and wondering about what it's like to make that transition to here in South Florida, and you have questions and you want to speak to someone, so people who have actually done it before, well, there's a few ways to get a hold of us. Down below is our email address. That's one great way. Also on the screen, you see our phone number. You can either call or text that number. Two of the best ways is in the description and the comment section, there's a link. Click on that link. What that'll do is that'll set up some time for us to speak either through a phone call or through a Zoom, whatever way you feel most comfortable. In any case, we have your back when it comes to relocating to here to sunny South Florida. We've helped so many people relocate to Florida, and we absolutely love it. Let me start with the location first. Loxahatchee is in central Palm Beach, maybe a little bit more to the northern side, but central Palm Beach all the way west. And in recent years in particular, and here we are in 2023, there's been a lot of history. There's been some development. There's been some controversial development when it comes to places like Westlake and Arden as examples. It's created towns like Loxahatchee Groves. It's been crazy what's going on there. But if you're thinking about moving to this area, there are things you want to know, and that's why we're discussing the pros and cons of Loxahatchee. So one of the pros when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida is the location. What I mean by location is that to get there, one of the best ways to get there is through Southern Boulevard. Southern Boulevard is our best route to go east to west here in all of the area, all of this part of Florida. And if you want to get to Loxahatchee from places like the city of West Palm Beach, Florida, you can get there easily by taking Southern Boulevard. So the location is ideal. If you're living in South Florida and considering Loxahatchee, the location is one of the pros. One of the cons when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida is there are no street lights. You might consider that to be a pro, some of you out there, but you are in a very, very rural area. And one of the other cons when it comes to Loxahatchee, Florida is there are no, lots of places, there's just dirt roads. So if you are looking at, Loxahatchee, you have to really look out for depending on what your lifestyle, what you want and what you're accustomed to, you need to see how much of it is paved and if that's an avenue for you. But many parts of Loxahatchee are in fact without roads, without paved roads, and without lights. When I go out to Loxahatchee, I know in my little Honda Civic, 2022 Honda Civic, I know when I come back, I am going to have to get a car wash. That's sort of how bad it is. But on the positive side of all that, you will see people on the roads riding their horses down the road. So it is a bit country. You will see things like that. It's rural, but it is a little bit dirty. So if you have a car, if you're driving your Corvette through Loxahatchee, be prepared to get a car wash on your way back. So one of the biggest pros when it comes to buying a home in Loxahatchee, Florida is you can buy a house with a lot of land. We see, living in Palm Beach, Florida, we see a lot of people that tell me, listen, I want Florida, but I don't really like the fact that I get a small lot of land. A lot of places here in South Florida are gated communities, and they come on pieces of property that are basically a quarter acre, more or less. And that's very, very common in Florida. So if you're looking for a place, and there are a few places here in Palm Beach County where you can do it. The most prevalent is Loxahatchee. If you want a place where you can get land, Loxahatchee is going to be a place you definitely want to consider. Lots of times in the general area of Loxahatchee, you will see people buying pieces of land about an acre, acre and a half. That is extremely common. There's another place in Loxahatchee, which is called Loxahatchee Groves. More on that later. That they have even larger pieces of property. So if you're in the market for something like a 5 acre parcel, maybe more, Loxahatchee Groves is a place where you can potentially find that. So one of the cons when it comes to buying in Loxahatchee and buying land there in Loxahatchee, Florida, is that lots of time not all pieces of land are created equal. Let's put it that way. Lots of times it will require you to clear the land. So you will have to arrange for that. We see people buying custom homes. Again, more on that later. But one of the things you need to be aware of when you're buying land in Loxahatchee is that it's not all land is created equal, and sometimes it comes in a very, very raw state. The other thing when it comes to buying a piece of property that's very raw, remember, you want to bring utilities out to your house. So if you're talking electric and potentially natural gas is like extremely hard to get unless you're in some of those communities out there. More on that again later. But if you want you put utilities out there, lots of times you got to look at what street it is. If you're in the middle of nowhere, chances are you're going to have a hard time with that. If you're in a community where there have been, or an area where there has been some development, although it's rural, it'd be a little bit easier. But that's one of the things you need to be aware of when you're buying a house in Loxahatchee. One of the pros when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida is when you buy these pieces of land, you can actually sit on it. So I'm going to talk a little bit later about the new construction communities in the area. If you go to Arden, which is in Loxahatchee, if you go to Westlake, which was in Loxahatchee, is now considered its own town, own city, Westlake. If you go there, you cannot buy land and just sit on it. You can't buy a quarter acre in Westlake through Minto, or in Arden through Lennar or GL Homes, and just sit on it. You need to buy it with the expectations that you're going to be building a house in like immediately, not in a year, but right away. If you buy a house in Loxahatchee, reach out to our office. We'll tell you more about how that process works. But in Loxahatchee itself, away from these master plan communities, you can buy a piece of land, and if you're not ready to build on it, that's fine. You'll pay taxes on it, significantly lower taxes, but you do have the opportunity to buy land and sit on it. And that's one of the pros when it comes to buying a place, or land, I should say, in Loxahatchee, Florida. One of the pros and one of the cons when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida is there are, generally speaking, again, away from the master plan communities, no HOAs. That is homeowners associations. I did a video recently on the pros and cons of homeowners associations, or HOAs. And we have found here at Living in Palm Beach that there are basically two types of people. There are the non-HOA people, and there are the HOA people. And these people you don't go from one side to the other. It's amazing how people are very adamant to be on one side or another. To me, it's crazy. There are not too many people that are say, I can take it or leave it. There are some, don't get me wrong. But in general, people who, when it comes to the subject of HOAs, they're in one camp or the other. But one of the pros when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida, is that if you are that type that says, I don't want to be told what to do, I don't want people telling me what color I can paint my house, I don't want people telling me where I can park my car in front of my house, or what kind of truck I have in my front. If that's you, then Loxahatchee, Florida is a place that you should consider. One of the cons when it comes to not having an HOA is that people can do crazy stuff. So if somebody is basically right across the street from you, has 14 cars in their front yard because they're working on them, there's not a whole lot you can do. You cannot go to an association and complain and asked to have a violation submitted to him. It's just not the way it works. So if you are pro HOA, Loxahatchee's for you. But if you don't want anyone being that crazy with you, that is one of the cons when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida. The other thing about that, and again, I'm not going to go cons, pros, and all this, but it's whether it's you or not, it's only you know. So if you have a boat, as an example, this is Florida. South Florida is the boating capital of the world, as I've said many times on this channel before. If you have a boat, let's say a 24-foot cruiser or a Sea Ray or anything like that, you can park it in your driveway. You can park it. You can build a garage for it on the side of your house. You cannot do that in a lot of places. So that's one of the benefits when it comes to living in a non-HOA property. The other thing HOAs do is that they will, first of all, some of them, the 55, I noticed they have age restrictions. That's a whole nother story. There's no such thing of that in Loxahatchee, except for again, in the master plan communities. But if you own a plumbing company, as an example, or electrician company, and you can park your trailer that says Joe's Plumbing in your driveway, no problema. No one's going to bother you with that. If you live in some of these master plan communities and these other HOA communities, they really will give you a hard time with parking your commercial vehicle, as they say, in your driveway that says Ray's Real Estate Company or something like that. Sticking on to the theme of HOAs and stuff. So I've had people who bought houses out there in Loxahatchee, and the people across the street, and fortunately for them, they knew that this could happen. And it did not bother them, but the neighbor across the street had chickens running around the front yard. So that is a possibility. You can have someone that has chickens, builds a chicken coop, and has chickens running around your front yard. That's I wouldn't say it's common, but that's something that you can that you might have to contend with. And if that's a problem for you, then Loxahatchee is not a place for you. One of the cons when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida, is I talked about land. The prices of land have gone up a lot. And here we are in 2023. In the last 3 years plus, the prices of land have gone up a lot. Just to give you a ballpark, and again, it depends on the state of your land, because some are raw and some have a little bit more clearing involved. You're looking at $150,000, something like that for an acre and a half. So you're not going to be able to come in here into Loxahatchee and put down $15,000 and think you're going to get a big piece of land. It is not like that. It might have been like that many years ago. It was better than it is today a few years back, but generally speaking, the prices of land have gone up a lot. People who build custom homes, I got to say this, because this is we see a lot more demand for this in recent years especially. So if you're buying a land in Loxahatchee and you're building a custom home, there is a different process involved. Reach out to our team. We'd love to run through what that is. We see more and more people, like I say, more and more people are looking in this direction. They like it because you can pretty much do a lot of customization. If you want to do something to one half of the first floor and another thing on the other half, if you want to put a wall like different than what the model has, you can do that out in Loxahatchee, which is what a lot of people like. But again, back on the land, the prices have gone up a lot. You can do this same process in other places in our area. As an example, Jupiter Farms is a good area for it. Farms is a beautiful area. Problem is that your $150,000 number is probably now a $300,000 number up there. So the prices of land, housing's gone up a lot lately. I think everyone knows that, but I don't think everyone realizes that land, the price of raw land, has gone up even more percentage-wise than the prices of housing here in South Florida. Reach out to our team if you're thinking about buying land and wanting to get some insight as to what's involved. We would love to help you. The state of your land is going to be a big issue. So if you're building those custom homes and you need to clear it, we need to budget some money to clear the land and sometimes to bring septic, to bring well water, because there is well water out there. The water needs to be treated. So there is a lot that goes into buying a custom home and building it in Loxahatchee, Florida. We work directly with some of the best custom builders out there. So if this is an avenue for you, you need to budget a lot of time, because it's not, they are less likely. They do it sometimes, but they are less likely. These builders in this particular area, in this space, are less likely to build what they call spec homes or speculation homes. For the most part, most of the time when you're doing this and you're doing this process, again, it's very different, and reach out to our team and we'll explain how that is. But for the most part, you're going to need time to build. And what I mean by that, you need a budget at least a year. In many cases, it could be as much as 18 months. So not all Loxahatchees like this. There's Arden. I'm going to go to Arden now. Arden is a master plan community. If you go down Southern Boulevard, I've done a couple of videos on Arden already. If you go down Southern Boulevard and, probably, 8 to 10 miles west of State Road 7, one of the drawbacks some people say about Arden is that it's a little bit far away from stuff. But anyways, it is one of the most beautiful master plan communities. It is in Loxahatchee. You have a Loxahatchee address when you live in Arden. Should have mentioned this place earlier because it's beautiful. The amenities there are second to none. The pool area is a resort style pool area. So you can get a Loxahatchee address. You have a working farm on the property. You go and pick up your farm share. They grow stuff all year long, less in the summertime because it's so hot, but they all year long you go there and whatever they're growing in, whatever is in season, you come pick up once a month as part of your HOA in the community of Arden and Loxahatchee. Arden has about 2,500 homes. I really do love that community. They call it the Agri-Hood. So welcome to the Agri-Hood. So if you're into nature, walking trails, butterfly gardens, some of the best they have a couple of natural lakes on that property. You can go boating in those lakes on there. I hear the fishing is outstanding. You can definitely go canoeing. They have a place for canoes there. So if you want to reach out to us about that community, down below is our information. Do not walk into the sales center directly. That is a dumb thing to do. You need independent representation. More on that if you want to reach out to us. But it is a mistake if you walk into a sales center directly. You really need to get independent representation. You want someone fighting for you on your side, and that's one of the things that we do at Living in Palm Beach. So if you're thinking about Arden, reach out to our team. The other master plan community I want to briefly touch on is Westlake. We've done tons of videos on Westlake. We get more calls on Westlake than any place else. Westlake used to be part of Loxahatchee. About 5 years or so ago, Minto, the builder, bought a bunch of land out there, and they sold some of it off, some of it to the Wellington Regional Hospital, some to a couple of other builders. Anyways, it's now a big community. It's 4,000 homes, 4,500 actually. When all is said and done, it's going to be about 4,500 homes, and they made it so that it's the newest city in Florida. It is the fastest growing city in Florida. They sell houses pretty quickly out there. There is a 55 and older community called Crestwind in Westlake. It's one of my favorite 55 and older communities. Reach out to us if you want to hear a bit more about that. Again, just like in Arden, do not walk into the sales center. Let us help you with that. We will help provide you with the best consultant at these builders. You want that. You just don't want whoever's up next when you call up and ask for help. That's the wrong way to do stuff. You maybe will get the right person, but that's a random piece of chance, and you do not want that. The cost to you to use us as a company, Living in Palm Beach, to help represent you is zero out of your pocket. It's the builder that pays us, and they're happy to do so because they want people like us, people like myself specifically, to introduce perhaps people like you to their beautiful communities. So last but not least, the last master plan community is not part of Loxahatchee, but I want to touch on it because it's getting a lot of 3,900 homes, so I got to mention it. It's a little bit north in Loxahatchee in Palm Beach Gardens. It's called Avenir. It is more money. It's probably like $1 million now. So I want to get away from the master plan communities. I want to make you aware that these are communities that are out there. One of the reasons why these master plan communities are near Loxahatchee and places like that is because there is still land available. One of the reasons why Loxahatchee is what it is because there's still land available. If I get people asking me, I want 1.5 acres, I want to be near the beach, let me tell you this, you are not going to get that. There's no such thing as 1.5 acres off the beach anymore. This is South Florida. People have been moving here forever, not forever, but for a long time. And the places by the ocean, generally speaking, are smaller. There are condos. So These are the areas where if you want land, Loxahatchee is primo for that. They are zoned so that they can't just sit there and build condominiums like this. There are people that fight all this tooth and nail. That's how the city of, or the village, or I'm not sure if the city or a village, but that's how Loxahatchee Groves was in fact created. When Westlake came in and bought that, when Minto came in and bought that property and thusly called it Westlake, the people, the old Florida people, the people that want to keep Florida the way it always was, the older age, but people have been around a while and want to keep it very rural, oldish Florida, they said, I have enough of this. We want to create our own little place where no one's going to bother us, and we want to keep it this way. It's called Loxahatchee Groves. Most of the places out there are about 5 acres. So if you want a big piece of land, Loxahatchee Groves is a place that you consider, and that's exactly why they created Loxahatchee Groves, to try and combat what they had seen as what they call advancement, or progress, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not in favor or not in favor, or in favor or not in favor, but that's one of the things that people who lived in that area fought, and they created their town called Loxahatchee Groves for that exact reason. One of the benefits of having places like Westlake being out there, whether you're in favor of this stuff or not, one of the benefits of it is that they are building more schools out there. Currently, the people in Arden go to Wellington schools. Westlake have their own schools, and they're building more. But in general, they're building more schools. And our experience is that when places build new schools and more schools, they don't build crappy schools. They build good schools. They build. We have like a rating system here, and they aim to build A-rated schools. So one of the benefits, whether you're in favor or not in favor of this more building out in these areas, one of the benefits is they're getting a higher quality of education, they're getting better schools, and they're getting more of these better schools in the area. If you have any questions about what schools are what and what that's all about, because we get one of the biggest questions we get is in fact about schools, reach out to our team. We'd love to guide you as to one of the things you need to look for, I have 3 kids. We have been through the gamut. There's magnet schools, there are charter schools, there are public schools, and if you have a ton of money and don't mind spending $35,000 per kid for a middle school, there are private schools. So you could do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you have the money, go for it. But there are all different kinds of schools here, and if you want a little bit of guidance as to what to expect, and we help people actually as well, I need to mention this. If is a certain school you want to aim for, we can help do a search for existing homes, let's say, that are districted for that school. Yeah, I want to make that point. This is a good point because it just made me think. Not all the homes are new construction out there. There are a ton of existing homes out there that you can get really good deals on, and quite frankly, there is it might be the benefit because you had somebody who went through the pain and frustration of clearing the land, bringing the wells in there and all that. When we buy a home for you guys, when we help you buy a home, we will do an inspection. So we will make sure that these things are in order. There are some spec homes. I've had clients who've bought spec homes, which means the builder did start the home and they're getting ready to release it in a few months. So if your time frame is shorter, we can help you navigate that. But I don't want you to think that there are only new homes out in Loxahatchee. There are plenty of existing homes, and we would love to help you. Reach out to our team, and we'd love to help you navigate what that looks like. So Loxahatchee is sort of near a couple places, and if you go to Arden as an example, their sales center, with me, of course. If you go to Arden and with your realtor, and you're looking at homes there, they will tell you how close they are to Wellington. If you go to Westlake, they will tell you how close you are to Wellington. There's a reason for that. Because you're in a bit of a rural area, people are going to want to know where they can get their stuff, whether it's a Publix or the mall. Wellington has the Wellington Green Mall, so that's one of the reasons they will say this. Years ago, way back when, Wellington was what Loxahatchee is today. In fact, there are some places in Western Wellington, and we've done a lot of videos on Wellington, and we know Wellington very, very well. There are some places in Western Wellington that are still like Loxahatchee and are rural. We'd love to help you if that's the avenue that you're thinking. There's also Royal Palm Beach. Royal Palm Beach used to be a lot like this too. So in any event, these are areas that if Loxahatchee is not exactly the fit, perhaps Wellington and Royal Palm Beach can be. So one of the things about Loxahatchee is that you will get this, because there's a lot of non-HOAs, you will sometimes get a big, massive masterpiece mansion home here and quite a modest home here. If you're okay with that, then Loxahatchee is a place like that. Loxahatchee, Florida, it's not for everyone. And the only way really to know is to do your homework, watch our videos, most importantly, come out for a visit to Florida. In fact, we've got lots of phone calls. If you want us to help you with a meeting with these custom builders, we can help. We'll register you and we will help that and set up that meeting. And they can answer a lot of questions when it comes to the process and what it's like living in Loxahatchee, Florida. Palm Beach, Loxahatchee, paradise here in South Florida.